Alright, so here's a little video on my studio setup, my broadcast rig, live rig, guitar rig, keyboard setup, all this kind of stuff. I'll give you guys a rundown of how I play live online, the stuff that I use for recording music, kind of how it's all put together and how it all works together. So let's start down here at the guitar amp. This is a Line6 Spider Valve Mark II. It's a 212 combo amp with a tube preamp, tube power amp, and digital effects. So it's a hybrid amp that lets me create my own patches and sounds with effects sort of dialed in for each song, and then switch between those sounds with a foot controller. So it's real convenient for the kind of stuff that I do where I play lots of different styles of music and need to get lots of different guitar sounds out of one amp. This is a Fender Hss Stratocaster. This is pretty much a stock Mexican Strat from 2009. It's had the frets replaced on it at least once. The bridge saddles have been replaced. The pick guard and knobs have been replaced. Just, a few cosmetic things. Of course, a few stickers. And then this is the pedal board that goes with the amp. This allows me to switch patches and turn on and off effects, control the volume, and click this over and use it as a wah pedal. And then a Boss phaser pedal on the front end before the amp, because that's always a nice sound. So that's the guitar rig. This is the Akai MPK88 weighted MIDI controller. And I use this, I use pretty much everything on this. I use the drum pads, drum fills, transport controls for whatever DAW that I'm using, whether Ableton or Pro Tools. I've got fader control over my levels here of the first 8 tracks. Drums, the drums that I play, usually drum fills. Loops, electric piano, polysynth, reverse cymbal, square synth lead, a Juno synth, a saw synth lead. So I got the first 8 tracks set up as playable synthesizers and drum machines. Put this into record here and... or switch to a pad sound here. And then I have control over the synthesizer sounds, the parameters of the synth, with these knobs up here. Depending on what track I'm playing here, these knobs will change and control various parameters that I've defined as my 8 MIDI controllers here. So that's the MPK88. A lot going on with that guy. Over here to the left is a Novation Launchpad Mini Mark II. It fits perfectly here on the Akai. So this guy I use to start and stop clips. Another section is... Let me just stop all those playing there. So I just use this for the first 8 tracks. Each one of these rows represents a track, so 1 through 8 here. So I can also start an entire section of the song, like a whole row together with these scene launch buttons here, and just hit a button here and have everything start. And then the next section. So over here on the right, I have a Livid Base II MIDI controller for Ableton. This thing is similar to the Launchpad, where it's used to start and stop clips. So I can just... So I got a set of drums laid out here. So 2 different kick drums, snare, claps, hi-hats, percussion effects, and then 2 SH-101 synthesizers for bass lines and leads and things. So I've got I can also select tracks from up here from these touch-sensitive buttons up here. I can change the aux sends, the reverb and delay sends on a particular track, select a track from here, and then I have an aux send control over here. These work as really good drum pads too, so I can scroll left and right here in the session and be on tracks 1 through 8. This is matching now what the Launchpad is seeing on the first 4 rows. So there's 1 through 8, there's 9 through 16, scroll over, there's 17 through 24, and then a few other sounds here. I think I have guitar here. So between these 3 MIDI controllers, these act as instrument controllers for Ableton Live and everything that's going on in Ableton, the 16 or 20 tracks of drum machines, bass synths, lead synths, electric pianos, all those kinds of sounds that I'm playing live. And I'm creating the arrangement live, so as I scroll through these patterns and go through different sections of the song, I can go jump back and forth, play solos with them. Scroll here, grab this synth. So normally I'm using 2 hands to do this with, and all over the place. It's kind of hard to do with 1 hand. But that's what I'm doing with the MIDI controllers in Ableton Live. Over here to my left is an XP-50. This is a Roland synth from the mid-90s. I got this thing brand new, I think in about 96. And this is a sample playback synth. There's about 640 sounds, an expansion board that has even more sounds, organ sounds, and electric pianos, and mellotrons. I'm using some of the mellotron sounds. Sound effects. So the XP-50 is going directly into Ableton Live, where I can use Ableton effects on its synth sounds. So it's an external synth that's being processed through Ableton Live and gets mixed in with all that. And then above that is a Roland System-8. This is a brand new synth I just got last month, or actually in May. This is a virtual analog modeling synthesizer, and it's designed to sound like the Roland synths of the early 80s, like the Juno and the Jupiter series, the SH-101. There's different patches that you can get that emulate these sounds really well. It's got built-in effects. You can add delay and reverb, distortion and things built into it. A sequencer that you can play live. It's got a vocoder and an arpeggiator, but it's got some amazing sounds. Also new is this on top of the MIDI controllers. This is a Roland TR-8 drum machine. It's designed to sound like analog drum machines from the early 80s, like the TR-808, the 909, the 606, and 707. So I've got all these sounds in this drum machine that I can add to what I'm already doing with other drum machine sounds. So just layering more percussion effects and sound effects on top with this. That then goes into the Roland MX-1 mix performer. Now this is kind of a unique mixer that has some interesting beat-based, tempo-based effects. So these guys sit on a tier on top of the Akai there. And then I've got the Roland rack over here. And then everything going on in Ableton Live. And all of these feed into this analog mixer. Now this is a Tapco Mix 260 effects. So I've got inputs from my vocal mic, guitar amp, the Mac output from Ableton Live, the MX-1 that has the System-8 and the drum machine, outputs 3 and 4 from Ableton Live for other outputs. And then I can send a mix out to the speakers here. I'm using some JBL LSR 305, and then have a separate mix going to the stream. So it's got a couple of aux sends. Those are going down to this TC Electronics M350. It's a stereo input output effects processor with 2 effects engines. It's got like delays and choruses and flangers and phasers on this side, and then all reverbs over here. So you send 1 here and send 2 to here, and you mix the output together on the front panel and kind of dial in all the effects from the front panel knobs. Below that is an Alesis 3630 compressor. I use that on vocals. I use it for stereo recording if I'm recording acoustic guitar. And below that is the audio interface. This is an AVID mBox Pro 3. This has 6 analog ins and outs and a couple of digital ins and outs. It's got 4 mic pre's, 2 headphone outs, and it connects FireWire to the computer. So all the ins and outs going from the audio mixer, from the analog mixer, are going to the mBox. And then that goes into the computer down here, and that's what feeds to the stream. And then next to that, I've got this computer over here, a MacBook Pro running Second Life. So here's what's going on the Mac Pro. This is, of course, running Ableton Live with 16 to 20 channels of synthesizer sounds, drum machine sounds, loops on this channel. I'm using Logic for a couple of sounds for the electric piano and the Hammond organ sounds that I use. Then I've got a couple of synthesizers here as we go down the list, sound effects, leads. So these are the first 8 tracks that are associated with the Launchpad by the red square. And the blue square is the Livid Base grid controller. So there's my kick drums, snare drums, clap, hats, percussion group, and 2 SH-101 synths. These are some free TAL bassline synths that are simulating an SH-101. And then some of these songs over here are backing tracks, just stereo mix backing tracks that are warped and can be blocked to the tempo and have the effects worked with the tempo of the song. So that's a couple of channels over here set up for that, and they have some effects too that I can apply, filter, and some gating effects that are kind of fun to play with. I've got a wind generator just for sort of a sound effect that I use just to that kind of thing. Transitions between songs and things like that. And then the inputs for the XP-50 over here, and any external inputs, like if I want to record a guitar loop or a vocal loop, I can have those over here. And then my master channel just has a couple things. EQ is actually bypassed right now. Look at that. How about that? And a compressor and a limiter, and I'm not even hitting those very hard, so just kind of leaving it open. And then using the compressor on Nicecast. Now, Nicecast is my stream software for sending the stream to the internet. This creates a shoutcast stream and allows me to put some plugins and effects on it and then send it out, and making a recording of it too, of different formats like AIFF and MP3 formats. So I've been using this for about 10 years. This is a very consistent, very reliable piece of software for broadcasting shoutcast streams. So very cool. Rogue Amoeba Nicecast, check it out. So also using iTunes for backing tracks when I'm not using Ableton Live. There's a lot more songs that I've had over the last 10 years of playing online where there's backing tracks in iTunes. So I just scroll up and down. Each song has a playlist, and I just start playing. And then I can play and sing along with that. So there's that. And then I've got lyrics over here. If I forget the lyrics to a song, I was like, how does this go? There's Have a Cigar right there. So I can just put those over here and have the lyrics and the backing track running, and then maybe switch songs here in Ableton while I'm playing another song with iTunes. So a lot going on the Mac Pro here while I'm playing all this hardware stuff live. So this is what's the hardware controllers are controlling, are these first 16 tracks, switching instruments and controlling the effects. The mic I use is a Shure KSM32. This is a large diaphragm condenser microphone, and it has a couple switches for filter and pad on the back of it. I don't know if you can see all that. My guitars. On the left here is a Taylor 110A. Has no electronics or microphone or pickup or anything. It's just a piece of wood, metal. Oh, hit myself in the head. Hi. On the right here is an Echo. I think that's how you say it. Echo. This is an Italian-made acoustic 12-string from probably about 1970, 72. So this guitar is actually older than me. This is my LG atmospheric control unit used to keep the studio and room at a usable temperature for humans and computers. So this is critical, and it has a nifty little remote control, and it's on wheels. I use this device as a way to keep the air clean. Keeps dust and particles and smoke and things down. Using an air filter, and this is a relatively quiet one. It's Honeywell air filter. This is my Oster 2-slice toaster. This works great on waffles, English muffins, toast, biscuits, croissants, Pop-Tarts. So thanks for watching my studio tour. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll do some more later. See ya.